Muhammadur Rasulullah alayhi salatullah. There's no God except Allah. There's no God except Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Al-Hayya Qayyum Al-Murid. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of us a sincere intention, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in our efforts and increase us in our energy at pleasing Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I thank all of you personally from the bottom of my heart for coming and attending the very first Islamic Youth Summit. Myself and my peer group took us maybe a month or 2 months to put this event together, and we're very happy and very pleased, inshallah, to share it with you. And today, the main thing that we would like to focus on is us as a people sincerely coming together in any way we can and in every way that we can, inshallah. And from talking to the youth, and when I say youth, I'm honestly saying anybody under the age of 40, honestly, right? But in specific, I'm 25 years old, so those people from 20 to 30, that whole age group, 31 to 35, this age group, or 15 to 20, this particular age group that we're talking about, how can we put all of the negativity that Shaitan distracts us with to the side, and inshallah come together to move toward Allah's light? How can we do that? How can we accomplish that thing? Because all of us say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. All of us, we Muslims. All of us, we Muslims. But at the same time, all of our conditions and all of our situations are not the same. They're not the same. And the truth of the matter is that today we're farther away as we've ever been from the call of Islam that Muhammad ﷺ has come with. And we hurting. We hurting bad. Our sisters are hurting. Our brothers are hurting. Fathers are hurting. Sons are hurting. Mothers are hurting. Daughters are hurting. We're hurting. We're hurting. And so when we come together to try to talk about these particular issues that we face as youth, and like I mentioned, under this age of 40, when we come together to speak about these issues, a lot of times we just elect a leader or something like that to speak on behalf of us, right? We pick somebody, oh, this is brother so-and-so, oh, this is sister so-and-so, and then they can kind of express to the masses this problem that we have. So I thought today, inshallah, it would be beneficial if maybe these things that all of us know about, maybe if it comes directly from us, directly to us, and inshallah, maybe it can be felt. And then from there, maybe, just maybe, we can stop talking so much and do something. Just maybe, right? And when I say do something, I mean, call your brother up, meet me at the Masjid, and let's offer salat together. We can move mountains like that. We can move mountains like that. You want to move some more mountains? Call another brother up. Call another brother up. Increase the rank. You want to move some more mountains? Call the fam. Call the family. Call the family. Your wives and your children. And inshallah, help our sisters get some real sisterhood. Something that's not negative. And inshallah, we can teach our children how to be brothers and how to be sisters in Islam. So, without further ado, inshallah, the first person that we have speaking to today about some personal experiences of his name is Ansar Miller, and this is my first cousin. This is my father's sister's son. And I just want to thank him very much for coming today and supporting me, not only today, but throughout my life, and for being there with me. And as people grow sometimes, they bang heads and they bump heads and they disagree and all these different things. And so me and my cousin, there was times in our lives where we went through things and we weren't even talking. And we weren't even talking. Could you imagine two cousins that grow up like brothers and then they get into a point in their lives where they don't even talk? But this ain't unfamiliar. Y'all got situations like this too. But through Islam and through the love of Allah and the love of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, me and my cousin were back together again, and we're tighter than ever. And so I thank you for coming today. So inshallah, without further ado, Ansar Miller.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to try to be brief, but as my cousin said, well, if you know anything about my cousin, if you know anything about the Millers, we hardly ever brief. So bear with me with my words. I oftentimes get asked to do, speaking engagements to the youth because I grew up here in Atlantic City. I grew up in Stanley Holmes Village. I'm a product of the city. I just was fortunate enough to go to school. But I always battle with myself every time someone asks me to speak because I never am really sure what to say. I'm always thinking whether I should tell them, the typical, go to school, get a good education, go to college. Eventually, things will work out for you. Stay out of trouble, keep your head on the straight and narrow, and everything will go good. But that's not always the case. And more times than not, coming from an environment such as Atlantic City, you have a 1 in 4 chance of it not being the case. Because these kids today, no matter how much education they get, no matter how much knowledge they may obtain in the secular world, doesn't mean much. It's like a kid from these impoverished areas can grow up. Like I went to school and I was fortunate to go to school on a scholarship. And I graduated with a 3.8 GPA. And I got my degree. But when I got out into the world, I was still, first, black. Number 2, I was Muslim. When I fill out applications and, put things down on my resume, I put my last name as Abdullah because that is my family lineage. So I right off the bat, anybody who sees me knows just by the name that he's Muslim. And if you are watching anything in the media in the last, let's say 10 years, to be a Muslim oftentimes has become the new black. We are looked at as terrorists. We are looked at as savages. We are looked at as volatile. So it's like a double sword. Not only am I black, I'm Muslim. And like a lot of you here, you have that same problem. So just having an education ain't enough. Just staying out of trouble ain't enough. Because a lot of times in these streets, trouble finds you. I was a smart kid growing up. Like I said, I grew up in Stanley Holmes Village. But trouble always seemed to come my way. I grew up in a harsh situation. My mother was a drug addict. My father wasn't around. It was pretty much me and my cousin. He was my father figure. We fed off each other. I learned from him and he learned from me. And we only 8 months apart. But that right there is how powerful you can be. Because by his example, he went to school before I did. By his example, he showed me what I could do. But even still, I was naive. When we was younger, I taught him Islam. Like I taught him how to pray. When we was like 13 years old. And then going along, I lost my way. And in the course of me going to school and him coming back home, he found a religion. And what I realized in all my dealings and all my accolades and everything that I was doing, that was the one thing that was missing, was the religion. And that is the one thing, the only thing that I can honestly say that the youth is missing here. It's like we gain these things for momentary satisfaction. I gain success monetarily. I gain success through my education for this dunya, to have a better life here on earth. But never thinking about what happens after. And that's what we find our hardest battle. It's because no matter how far you go, you don't have Islam. There's nothing. So the first thing we must teach, the first thing we must learn before anything, before we tell our kids to get a good education, before we tell our kids to stay out of the streets, before we tell our kids to be nonviolent, before we tell our kids to be careful, we must teach our kids this religion. Before anything. Because I can almost say that I have pushed my limits beyond Atlantic City. I've seen how we are treated across the country. I've traveled across the world and seen that nothing that I have gained means much to anyone but me. Nothing I've gained monetarily means anything to anyone. Like I just told my cousin that I'm supposed to be opening up a shoe and clothing store in Baltimore. And I have, some substantial funds. But that didn't mean nothing. I told this white man that I had $20,000 to start my business. Just me. I had 2 other partners. But that didn't mean nothing to him. Nothing. He shunned me off. So I had to come with more credentials and more credentials and more credentials to finally get a pinky toe in the door. So this is what I mean when I say that it does not matter in this world just to have education. Those things are important. It does not just matter to have a good head on your shoulders. What matters first and foremost is this religion. You kids taking the first step, and you parents by taking the first step of even bringing your children here to hear these words, is the first step to getting them this religion, to give them this deen. So I encourage each and every one of you, when you leave here, sit your child down, sit your son down, sit your daughter down, and go over the basics of this religion. And even you, tune up, and even myself, tune up on this religion. Because life will be much more of a blessing when you have it. Assalamu alaikum.